So 2022 was a pretty crazy year. It was probably the craziest year of my life to date, actually. I mean, from starting this YouTube channel to my entire mindset changing to getting my first job, and there's a lot more that happened this year. This year was really crazy, and that's why these are my 5 reflections from the year of 2022. Now, to start off with, 2022 was the first year where I kind of just put my head down and worked at certain points. I know multiple times throughout the year, I kind of just went off the grid. I didn't talk to anybody, and I just worked. Especially the second half of the year, I kind of just, once I started this YouTube channel, there were days where if I wasn't going to my job and I wasn't working, I would get up, I'd get ready, and the first thing I'd start doing is working on my YouTube channel. It'd be video editing, recording videos, making shorts, just doing all of this different stuff to build my YouTube channel. And this really started to lay this foundation for me to understand what hard work really is. And for me to really see the amount of work that you have to put in just to get little bits of, return off of that work. And it just opened my eyes to a completely different world, I would say. What really needs to get done for you to see any results whatsoever. And I mean, even before I started my YouTube channel, I started to really realize that I need to start putting work into something. And that was a big reason why I took the leap to start this channel, was because I wasn't putting dedication into anything. I wasn't putting hard work into anything else really during the summer. I mean, I was working a job, but besides that, I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting around, and one day somebody asked me, well, why don't you start your own YouTube channel if you're passionate about these different things? And it dawned on me. I was like, okay, let's go. And you can go back to August, where I was posting these videos where, the quality was bad, the editing was bad, and you can just see the hours that were put in to make the editing better, to create better videos, to make better thumbnails, and how it's getting better results as well. I mean, my channel has gotten a lot better results in the last few months as things have gotten better. And I'm never going to delete those videos from 4 or 5 months ago either, because it just shows the meaning of what hard work really is. And that's why my first reflection from the year of 2022 was understanding the meaning of hard work. Now, the second reflection from 2022 is really just about money and business, because the way I view money has completely changed. I mean, before this year, I was barely just starting to get into investing, and as the year went on, I just started to do more research on how financial institutions work, how the banking systems work, what fractional reserve banking is, and it just blew my mind because nobody talks about these things. Nobody, especially my age, even realizes the corruption that goes on and how really just broken our financial system is in the United States. And a lot of people just don't see it. So when I saw this, it really just hit me hard, and I was like, I have to do something about this. I have to say something. I have to, encourage other people to start investing, to start doing something with their money, because many people just don't see it. They don't realize that if they don't start investing until they're 30 or 40, they're never going to retire. They're never going to have money. They don't understand what inflation is. They don't understand all this stuff. And it really just, it sparked something in me to decide to talk to people, to go out and educate people on these kind of things. But the second part of it is really just my understanding of money and what I do with it, because not only did I want to educate other people, I wanted to educate myself as well and get better with what I'm doing with my own money. And throughout the year, it really changed. I decided to do a couple different things, start investing in these different things, start opening up different accounts and moving things to how, I preferably like them. And I can now say at the end of this year that I'm pretty happy with where I am compared to where I was last year, because seeing where I was last year, if I knew what I know now back then, I would not have been happy. with where I was, but you can't really ever make that comparison. And the second part of this reflection is business, because right now I am in the process of opening up something similar to a business. And before this, I always knew that I wanted to open up some sort of business. I always wanted to be a so-called entrepreneur. I always wanted to do something on my own, to be my own boss. But I never really knew what until in the last few weeks. So because of that, it really just changed how I do things, and it just made me reflect on how things need to get done now, what needs to get done, because I'm now juggling multiple responsibilities. I have, my outside life, everything I do kind of outside of this channel. I have this YouTube channel. I'm now opening up this somewhat similar thing to a business. You guys will find out soon enough what that is. But it really made me realize that if certain things don't get done certain ways, then it's not going to be good for all of these different things, for, my business, for my YouTube channel, for my outside life. And it made me realize that I have to adapt to whatever the world throws my way, because if I don't, then nothing's ever going to get done. I'm just going to sit here with my plan, and my plan's not going to work out, because that's just how the world works. And so I had to reflect on that, and that was a really big reflection of 2022. Now, this next reflection from this year has to just do with mainly investing, but also a lot of other things. I mean, before this year, I never really was too much into investing. I never really thought about it. I just thought, oh, it's one of those things that I'll do when I'm 25 or 30, when I have a family, when it makes sense, all this different stuff. And then I started doing research, and I realized, oh shoot, this is something I have to start doing now if I want to retire by 50, 60, one of those, goal ages that I want to retire by. I realized I have to start doing this now. But with investing, as much as the market had a really rough year, I learned an absolute ton of things. And I can just say that about, generally speaking, about 2022. I know without a doubt that I learned more this year than any year in past, by a mile. I learned so much in this last year, and especially with investing. Like I said, as much as the market had a really rough year, every time I made a trade, I learned something new. I learned that not to sell during this time, about candlestick analysis and all of these different things, and it really just, it opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Now, this next reflection is a little bit of a different one, because obviously I've talked about hard work and money and business and all this stuff, but this next one is different because this one has to do with community, because I really realized that who you surround yourself with really matters. And I realized that I'm not really surrounding myself with people who are like-minded, who have ambitions that are similar to mine, people who desire the same things. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You want to surround yourself with different people who think about things in different ways to get a broader perspective on life. But you don't want to hang around people that, are doing things that you would never do, that are wasting their life away, right? So when I realized this, I said, okay, I need to start surrounding myself with like-minded people who want to do the same thing, who are going to build me up on my path to get where I want to be, to reach my goals, and vice versa as well. I'll build them up to be where they want to be. And it was just a really big realization that I had. And I'm definitely going to elaborate more on this in the next few months as things start to come out. But like I said, I'm working on some sort of a community business. I've kind of mentioned it on my Instagram page a few times, so make sure to follow me there. But yeah, it's a really big thing, is having a community around you that's going to build you up. And it was something that I've reflected on for the past few weeks, that I realized that I have to surround myself with people who are like-minded, because if you don't, it's hard to get somewhere if you don't have a community around you that is going to back you no matter what. And that is why community is my fourth reflection from 2022. And kind of just building off of that, another really big thing was relationships, because I realized that I have to work on my relationships, have a work-life balance, because it's not always possible to have a great work-life balance. But it was something that I knew I had to prioritize, because like I said, I have all these different things that are going on. So it was something that I realized I need to focus on. And if I don't, there may be repercussions to it. People may not necessarily always be happy with me, which they'll never be, but about the fact that I'm not paying, any attention to them. I'm off doing this. And like I said, multiple times throughout the year, I just put my head down and worked. I didn't really talk to anybody. And eventually realized I was like, okay, like it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, I need to pay attention to these other responsibilities that I have as well. But not even just that, just the importance of building different relationships with different people, similar to the community of having different people around you who, yes, are like-minded, but also are going to think about things in different ways than you. So, relationships was a really big thing. And even for my goals list for the end of 2022, it was something that I knew I had to make a priority, was spending time with people who I care about, who I value, who I love, right? And not only that, but valuing their time, because they also have things that they're responsible for, just like I do. So kind of just a step back sometimes, take a step back, take not necessarily a break, but prioritize things in certain ways. And it was a really big thing that I had to overcome, because there were times where I would just, like I said, put my head down and work. And before I knew it, 2 or 3 days had gone past. And then I'd have people being like, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, this needs to get done. And I would just be like, oh, like crap, this has to get done. I'm responsible for these other things. And it was not necessarily like I never got anything done on time. I'm very big about that. I always get things done on time, but it was a realization that I can't just go off and, focus on this YouTube channel for 3 days and not worry about anything else, because that's just not how the world works. So, like I said, relationships was a really big thing in 2022, because I had to learn how to manage my different relationships, build different relationships at the same time as all of these different things as well. And a really big thing that just ties all of this together is overcoming different fears that you have, because I realized that a big thing that all of these things share in common, money, business, community, all of these things, before I realized these things, I was even scared of doing them. Like, I didn't want to go and invest because, yes, part of me thought that it wasn't necessary, but also it was different. It was something I didn't know about. It was scary. There was a risk involved with it. Same thing with money. I didn't know anything about it. Business I didn't know about, right? Community, I didn't know that all of these different things really, really mattered, right? And even if they did, how in the world was I going to make a difference? How in the world was I going to make a change with the way I do things? So that was also a really, really big thing, a little bit of a bonus reflection from 2022, was just overcoming fears in general, because I think everybody at some point in their life is going to have to get over that big fear that they have, and this year was a really, really big one for overcoming fears in my life. So, ladies and gentlemen, those were my 5 or so reflections from 2022. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I know I certainly went off on a couple different tangents about my life. And I know this video will definitely not rank well in the YouTube algorithm, as it's a little bit of a different kind of video than I usually make. But I thought it would be something that you guys would be interested in as we end 2022 and begin 2023. So, on that note, thank you all for sticking around, and I'll see you all in the next one.